Everyone was like, KUYA MAGIK is a fake DJ. He's not a real DJ. He doesn't know how to DJ. I've been cancelled a few times, Jiggy, as a content creator. And I mean, it's difficult. I'll speed it up. So I sped it up just for a joke, just for a laugh. And it was my first DJ content, my first ever content. And I woke up in the morning, 75 million views. TikTok doesn't pay their creators at all. TikTok and Universal fighting, that's what caused the issue. That's why all your music got muted. Millions and millions of videos just got muted.
Hi guys, welcome to the Pilosopo podcast. I'm your host. My name is Jiggy Juice, and our guest today is TikTok sensation KUYA MAGIK.
Yo, what is up? Hello, Jiggy.
How you doing, KUYA MAGIK?
I'm doing really well.
You know, our topic for today is the philosophy of TikTok.
The philosophy of TikTok.
The philosophy of TikTok, right?
Such a nice subject.
I know, right? First and foremost, I think we need to introduce you to the few people that don't know you. There's only like probably 10 people in the world that don't know who KUYA MAGIK is. So please introduce yourself to the 10 people that don't know who KUYA MAGIK is. Go ahead.
Well, hello everybody. I'm KUYA MAGIK. I am, I'm a TikTok mashup content creator. And I've been on TikTok for about 3.5 years, and heavily influenced by the pandemic. You know, no one could get out. No one. I mean, I lost my business during the pandemic, so like I was like, nothing else we can do but just browse. And then I came to TikTok, and then the rest is history. So I do all the mashups. So I take like 2 songs, put them together, and kind of like extend the more dancing experience on TikTok, and it worked. So
you said 3.5 years on TikTok. Is that also the same amount of time that TikTok, right about the same time that they began also?
Yeah, so TikTok was previously known as, oh my gosh, it's gone. There was another app guys in the comments, let me know, I've forgotten. But there was another app that TikTok used to be before, and it kind of like evolved into what it is now during the pandemic.
But it was 3.5 years when they began to be called TikTok, right?
It's when it started to get noticed and boomed, yeah.
Okay, but during that time, of course, Facebook was already around. There was already Instagram. It was still considered called Twitter, and all of these other peripheral social media sites. But primarily, that was the environment back then, right? Yeah. Facebook, Instagram, and then Twitter, and then all of these other smaller social media platforms. Yeah. So maybe you can tell us how TikTok entered in the market. What was their unique selling proposition? How was TikTok different from all of these popular media platforms already at that time, which were Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter?
Well, first and foremost, it was the rapid growth that creators could get. So, for example, you could do anything like clean your dishes, brush your teeth, and just do whatever, and the video would go viral. So I guess TikTok was a platform which kind of like, if you did anything, they would push you. So you'd have chances of getting like, you know, this is early days, huh? When it first started.
Yeah, that's my question. That's my question. Yeah.
So it was exponential growth. You could become a celebrity overnight.
So wait, let me backtrack a little bit. When you said you could be washing your dishes, and they would still push it. Like they were not. Of course, they were not more discerning when it comes to the kind of content. It could be just anybody. Is that what they did before?
In the very early days, you could do anything. Wow. Like I mean, like if you look at Bella Porch, for example, she got viral for just moving her lips like that. You know, and doing something super, super simple. So it was like, I think then it was like, all eyes are on you because of the pandemic. No one could go out, no one could do anything. So all eyes are on you. Everyone is watching you. The platform wasn't super big yet. So there wasn't a lot of content. There wasn't a lot of competition. A lot of people kept away from it because they thought it was for kids. In fact, when I was pushing the app, I was running around with a TikTok shirt and a TikTok hat, and people were just laughing at me.
3.5 years ago, how many TikTok members were there at that time? Would you know?
I mean, for the Philippines, there used to be a handful of people, like established ones, because TikTok used to be quite hands-on with their creators. So they would have events every week, every month, and those people would be no more than 30 people, 30, 40 people. But there was thousands of users watching the app and using it. But in terms of content creation, there wasn't that many. So like it was very open and you had a very high chance of being
But 3.5
successful.
years ago, was it already big worldwide or still in its inception as well?
It was still in inception.
Okay.
So it was still kind of like, I mean, it was looked at as like an app for kids to just dance on and just be irrelevant. But I think when brands started moving over in the near future, it became more solid. So it was more of a mess around platform.
But couldn't you do those same things that you mentioned even on Instagram and on Facebook and even
no,
on
because
Twitter?
this algorithm was so generous. The algorithm was so generous. So it was like, how the algorithm back then was like, it would put your video in front of 10 people. Based on their reactions, it would put your video in front of 50 people. Based on their reactions, it would go in front of 100, and so on and so forth. So that algorithm that they had created had never been done by anyone before. So it's like, we are guaranteeing you to be seen by 5 people. And based off those 5 people, we will then,
whatever it is that you did.
whatever it is that you did.
Even like Bella Porch was just moving her face.
Yeah, so based on those 5 people, based on how they reacted to your video, they would then push you out to more. So like 10 people. And so if you had a positive feedback on those smaller numbers, you would work yourself to like 50,000 people. And then based on their reactions, you would then go to the next level.
So it was easier to get traction.
Very easy to get noticed.
In the beginning. But originally, who and what was TikTok for? You mentioned kids, you mentioned people to dance. Was that the original intention of what TikTok was supposed to be for?
The name came to me. It's called Musical.ly.
Okay.
So Musical.ly was the name of what TikTok used to be before ByteDance took over. And Musical.ly was basically an app where you could just dance to 15 seconds of a song without copyright. Because basically, you know, like you do it on YouTube, you get copyright strikes, whatever. So TikTok really kind of allowed short music, shorts. It's the first platform to enable shorts. YouTube followed, and so did Instagram.
So there was no shorts before this.
No.
So
No.
Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube never
TikTok
had
created that first
the
short format video. Then YouTube followed. I mean, Instagram has always had like, you know, that square kind of thing. You know, they weren't really heavy relied on, you know, the short form content.
Okay.
So TikTok was really the godfather that came in and really kind of set the bar.
It was made for primarily really for dancing with music in short bursts.
That was correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that was the algorithm. It was very generous also, right?
Yeah.
I mentioned you mentioned KUYA Magic when we have our conversations. There was a time that people laughed at you. They were laughing at you because you were at TikTok, you know, and TikTok are for exactly what we talked about, for kids, right?
That's correct.
So let's call that the embarrassing era of TikTok. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the embarrassing era. So basically, you know, for a content creator, I wasn't. So let me explain to you first of all why I pursued and stayed with TikTok. Okay. So I got verified on Instagram, I got verified on Facebook, and I got verified on Twitter as a content creator. So I had the blue badge, and then I reached out to the high ups of TikTok and I said, look, I've got 3 platforms I'm verified in. Please, can you verify my TikTok account? And they refused. They said, sorry, we can't. The rules are you need to get 1 million followers.
Okay.
So that was my goal, get 1 million followers. So that was when I was solid on the platform. You know, I was like wearing T-shirts, wearing hats. Everyone was laughing at me, you know, going, oh, you know, that's just for an app for kids. And my content was just doing Filipino-based stuff. So I'm a software engineer, and I've been worked for Facebook before.
Mm-hmm.
And I understood the algorithm of TikTok. So TikTok would only show the content to Filipino people. So Filipinos would only see Filipino people in the early days, in the very early days of TikTok. So if you're scrolling your For You page, what it is today, you would only see Filipino people. So I realized that being a foreigner living in the Philippines, I had an advantage over everybody else because people would stop and go, oh, I've seen someone different in the feed that isn't from the Philippines. This is interesting. So I had their attention. So what I started to do was stop scrolling. I'm going to read your mind. Double tap the screen right now to lock it in. And what they were doing by double tapping was I was getting a like. Second of all, I knew that my video was being viewed by a Filipino person. So I said, I can tell now you're from the Philippines. Subscribe to me if I was correct. I was right every single time because my content was only shown to Filipino people. So like people were like, oh, how did he do that? How did he know? And then I started creating the content of like, stop scrolling. I bet you're not wearing any shoes right now. So like Filipinos don't wear shoes half the time. And then I was like, stop scrolling. I have 4 restaurants on the screen. And then double tap on the one that you're from. So they double tap on the Jollibee, right? The rest are all international. And then I take off my shirt and underneath I'm wearing a Jollibee shirt.
Okay.
So all my content was like, how did he know? But I was creating that engagement.
It was like magic.
It was like magic because, you know, like I knew that my content would only be shown to Filipinos and I was right every single time. And that's how I grew so fast.
Was it like an open secret or was that something that you only knew?
I only knew this at the time.
Okay.
And then obviously if you try this type of content now, they will say you're Filipino baiting. Like you're using the Filipino people to bait to get. This is what they'll do. You know, they will say that you're using Filipino people to grow your content.
What's wrong with that?
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think there are a lot of people out there that are finding useless content. Like people are doing useless content that could be either offensive or not relevant, or you know, making fun of Filipino people.
Okay.
So for me as a content creator, I realized like I had the attention of this, so I was just doing comedy content. And then obviously, as time goes on, I was told that there's no DJs on TikTok, and I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. But that's really what it is. You know, if you do something, if you're trying to be someone you're not on TikTok, you won't grow. But if you generally sit there and do something you really enjoy doing, TikTok will see that and push it to you. And like I thought no one would enjoy DJing, but I enjoy DJing. I thought no one would appreciate it. So it was my last resort because I did comedy, I did magic, and then I did kind of like went back to the Filipino foreigner kind of like Alexa, you know, like Alexa, what does really mean? And it's like talaga, you know, like, and it would, I did the Alexa series and that went viral. And then I started to decrease in my viewership. My following was lowering. I wasn't getting many views anymore. So I just decided to do a remix of Copina, and that was it. Boom, 75 million views.
What song?
It's
Copina. What?
It's called Copines. It's one of the it's like Pina.
So it's an actual song.
It's an actual song, yeah, by Aya Nakuma. It's the one where the very first song on TikTok that kind of like said, right, TikTok is now a platform for music.
Okay, but that wasn't a mashup, right?
It wasn't a mashup.
So when did you get to the KUYA Magic mashup part?
So obviously I was like I said, I was kind of like running out of ideas because I was doing magic and comedy and it wasn't working anymore because I kind of like really extended it. And then I just dropped a sped version of this song that I saw someone dancing to sillily. Like I was like, hold on a minute, there's like 10, 20, 50, there's like 60 people dancing to this song. I'll speed it up. So I sped it up just for a joke, just for a laugh. And it was my first DJ content, my first ever content. And I woke up in the morning, 75 million views. And I was like, what? So I was like, what can I do now? So I slowed it down instead of sped it up and posted it. 72 million views. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I've sped it up, slowed it down. What else can I do? So I was like, I need to find another song that I'm seeing people dancing to because this is really strange. So I found another song that someone was dancing to. And I put the two together. And then I got 122 million views on that. So I was like, right, I'm going to do this more often. So I spent pretty much 20 hours a day browsing through TikTok, trying to find songs that I feel people enjoyed dancing to. And then I just started making the mashups. And then I came out with a content where it was like speed challenge. So I would do the song at original speed, double speed, triple speed, and then super fast. And you would have to dance it. And people were like, you know, and it became, TikTok really liked it. And they just accelerated me. And I was getting 500,000 followers a day.
So because you were doing magic, you were doing comedy, you were doing Filipino content. And then all of a sudden you felt like it was lowering, it was decreasing. So you tried to look for something else. And that's why you found mashups to be more effective, right? You got millions of views. Was this because you ran out of good ideas, or was this a change in the algorithm?
I think it's a change in the algorithm.
Okay.
Because obviously you have to understand that there are more creators joining every day. So when we first started, we were the OGs. We were the originals. That's what I get in my comments now. People are like, KUYA MAGIK, you're the OG. So obviously there was more competition. More people were doing it. So your content was getting more diverse and you were becoming more filtered. So like you weren't really getting much exposure anymore. So the key thing is in TikTok now is if you have to remain relevant.
Okay.
And I mean, like, same with Bella Porch. If you look at her comments, a lot of people say, are you relevant anymore? Because she got famous for just pulling funny faces to later then become a singer because she can sing. But obviously all these TikTokers that got millions of followers thought they could sing. She kind of got a bad light going, oh, look at her. She's got millions of followers and she's just like every other TikToker who thinks they can sing. But Bella can sing, and that excelled her into her next phase of her music career. And now she's facing, is she still relevant?
Yeah,
so that's the reason for me why I changed different things. So like MAGIK, doing all these things.
So you want it to be relevant, but if you remain relevant, but if you used the same tricks of MAGIK, magic tricks, or what was the other one, Filipino jokes and whatever, the algorithm would no longer pick it up because it has changed, right? I think
the algorithm was always changing.
I think it's important because you're a technical guy primarily. You're a software guy. You mentioned you worked in Facebook before. What does that really mean when you say algorithm? And when you say algorithm, is it working with artificial intelligence? Does the algorithm get better or no?
Well, AI and algorithms are two totally different things.
Okay, all right.
However, an AI can create an algorithm. And an algorithm is basically a process in which things can happen organically. So now I can say like an algorithm uses baseline AI now to be able to understand what the viewer wants. But back then, TikTok had an AI which was based off, an algorithm based off engagement, short burst engagement. So TikTok had an algorithm, what we call A, B, C, D, and then we had the F category.
Okay,
so,
I don't understand that. That sounds so Greek to me. Can you make it simpler, please? Like,
okay, yeah.
What exactly is an algorithm? Is it a software? Is it a way of processing content? What is it?
Yeah, so like what I said with the A, B, C, D, or F. So A is basically we show your video to 10 people.
Okay.
And then based off those 10 people, you would move to category B, which would be 50 people. And then C, which would be 1,000 people. Then D would be 100,000 people. So everybody wanted to get category D on their algorithms, on their content. So it was like you had to be engaging. You have to be, it's the first 3 seconds that matter. So you have to really be exciting. I mean, that's what it is now because the algorithm sucks. But back then, the algorithm was so favorable to everybody who was consistent. So like if you posted one video a day, the algorithm would favor you.
So the algorithm of TikTok back then was A to 10 people and then B 100 people. So it was just escalating, right?
It was putting you in a pool of people.
Okay.
So it was taking your video and dropping it in a swimming pool of 5 people and seeing how people did. Did they like the video? Did they comment? Did they subscribe? If they did all 3 of those things and all 5 of them did those things, it would move to the next swimming pool.
So an algorithm is a software.
It's a code. It's a language.
It's a language, right?
Yeah.
That does things without the aid of a human being.
Yeah. So for example, Jiggy, say for example you have your phone out and you're on YouTube and you type in golf. What will happen is the algorithm will find everything related to golf that has had a positive feedback from another 100 Jiggies. So 100 people like you who have also searched for golf and have found the ultimate video they've landed on. They know YouTube now knows that this is the best video to show you when you search for golf.
Okay.
So this is a language. This is a code that's put together based on user interaction. So if I type in, say for example, how to comb my hair or how to cut my hair, and there's like a video that's really bad, and I don't watch it for long, YouTube knows that I only watched the video for 3 seconds, so that's not going to get recommended. And then I find this other video that I watched the whole video for. So YouTube saves that. And they're like, right. So he searched for how to cut your hair, and there was one particular video that he found that he liked. So they save that information, and then they process it. And then in the future, when you go and search, someone else searches for it, they know, oh, well, on like 50 people found this video interesting.
What
So
is
that's
it?
how it does. It just knows how to put your video.
What does it mean when they say that Facebook's algorithm favors the controversial, the violent, the bad news, the negative, the outrage? Right?
So-
What does that mean when they say that?
If you're gonna fast forward, if you're fast forwarding yourself to
Okay.
what algorithms are like now,
Mhm.
like algorithms are so advanced now that they are manipulated. They are put into a point where people can pay for anything in particular. So, for example, if you wanted to have an an advantage on your algorithm, Facebook could display that video like ads. Ads didn't exist before, so they have to kind of coexist with an AI. So if someone is paying for exposure, it has to kind of fit in the gap of the AI, so of the algorithm. So like the algorithm now has changed so much; it can be controlled by the company. So like it's not so much organic anymore. It's more. For example, let me make it easy for you. So, for example, I have made a song and I've remixed it with Chris Brown. The AI will think I'm trying to promote Chris Brown's music, so it won't push me. But TikTok might come along and go, oh, Chris Brown has paid us $1 million for marketing, and there is a content creator that has just made a remix of Chris Brown. Instead of us creating our own content, we'll just take KUYA Magic's video and boost it because he's already created the content for us. He wants the followers. He wants the views. So we'll just give him the highlight. We'll make him the star. So it's like now that's what it's become. These algorithms are heavily manipulated by the companies who created them. They are not organic much anymore.
So so when they say that the algorithm favors bad news, negativity, outrage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? Is that true? Is that why you see a lot of negativity on social media?
Yeah, well, it's the algorithm will think there's a lot of people out there that want to know that there's something a lot worse going on in the world than the problem they're currently having. So they will look for information, they will look for madness, they will look for drama, they will look for all the negative things to give them self-satisfaction in their mind that, oh, they're not the only one that's having an issue right now. And because of having that situation, the algorithm goes, oh, this is a trend. This is popular. So they will then put that content more accessible for others in that category field. So that's why, the microphone is always listening to everything you do or say on Google because, like, for example, if I talk about, like, One Direction, I come home and on my For You page, I'll see some news about One Direction. So it's like all of this information is really heavily now processed into AI. So it's like, like all this negative stuff that we see or all this outrage or this drama, it's because people want it. I mean, from being a foreigner in this country, everything I feel, it's not just in this country, but like everywhere you go, it's like I feel like I'm outside sweeping the floor when I don't need to, just so I can hear someone else's conversation. Because I like to hear the drama. I like to hear the madness, like that. So the algorithm will put that for me.
It's been getting a lot of flack lately, a lot of complaints, a lot of bad publicity, right? The algorithm that favors negative news, like bad news, outrage, and negativity, even violence, right? They've been getting a lot of flack, especially in the West, right?
Yeah.
Have they tempered and changed the algorithm in a way that is less destructive, less negative, less violent?
I think the algorithm has become so self-aware that no one has control over it anymore. So the answer to your question would probably be the people who are searching or wanting to know these things has increased so much that the algorithm is just doing it.
TikTok is a product from Asia, right?
It is, yeah. It's from
Asia, right?
ByteDance, yes. Chinese.
Facebook obviously is American. Even Instagram is American, and they bought it, so it's just Facebook and Twitter and so on and so forth. They're all Western inventions, Western apps, right?
That's correct.
In terms of it being from the East, from Asia, right?
Mm-hmm.
How is TikTok different compared to all of these Western apps?
Well, I think
social media
that's
sites?
a very difficult question to answer, Jiggy, because this could have been created by anybody. But like it's when you sit there and think, what can I do now to make the next biggest thing that will be really successful? It just so happened to be created by a company that was in China. So and in thus doing that, in creating a company that has so much interest, so much I think it was also the fact that they did everything right. There was someone of a genius that created it. It was the algorithm that made TikTok successful over any other app. Like Facebook. I mean, that's why now when you listen to the news, TikTok are willing to sell their company, but not the algorithm. Because their algorithm is one of a kind. It was like there are companies now like YouTube that have replicated it in a way but made it and tweaked it a lot better. But their algorithm, they will never sell. But for me, I don't care about their algorithm anymore because it sucks. It doesn't give me any. It prioritizes new creators now. So that's why like Charlie D'Amelio, Charlie D'Amelio, the most followed person on TikTok. You don't see her anymore. It's because TikTok are giving the chance to other creators now. So that algorithm has completely changed, and that's the reason why it was successful in China.
One of the things that I heard about TikTok is that there's actually a version of TikTok that is
Dorian.
only available to China, and the one that they're
Dorian.
the one that they're doing, and the one that they're giving to the world is actually not the same version as China. Is it because the TikTok that they're giving to the world is so bad that they don't want their countrymen in China to use it themselves? Why is there a different version of TikTok in the world?
Because the Chinese want. The Chinese want to control everything.
Okay.
So they want to control the media. They want to control everything. That's why they have their own TikTok. That's why they have their own Facebook. That's why they have their own everything that we use now. Their own Twitter. They have their own. Because they want to control everything, that's the reason why.
When you say control, what do you mean exactly? Like they filter?
I don't know too much about this, but the government really want to control everything.
Okay,
the media.
Okay. There was a time now. Let's go back to the script. There was a time now that it was called the embarrassing era for KUYA Magic when they laughed you off because you're a TikToker and TikTok is for kids and all of that stuff.
Oh, it got worse.
When did they take TikTok seriously? What point was that? What year was that?
Well, I think it was when McDonald's first joined, and then Justin Bieber joined, and then I think a few others followed. So it was like all it took was like for reputable brands, and I think most of it was celebrities. So like like we had Nicki Minaj, Justin Bieber, we had Halle Berry, we had a few huge famous people using TikTok, and that's what excelled it. And I think that's also what crippled us in the future because, like there was more celebrities on the app, so if I got verified, I was someone of importance, but I didn't have celebrity status, but I was popular around the world. I mean, there is like 13, 14 million people using my audios. So it's kind of like, I'm not as popular as I was. And some people do still say like, who are you? What are you doing? But like the whole entire process has changed, So now in terms
so what year was that? Was that year 2, year 3 when it became?
Yeah, maybe about
when
3
people
years after.
started taking TikTok seriously.
People started taking TikTok seriously maybe just about a year after the pandemic when all those restrictions were left and businesses were open again. That was kind of it, really. I mean, like I had a tough time in TikTok. I've been cancelled a few times, Jiggy, as a content creator, and I mean, it's difficult.
What did you do, man?
I accelerated in growth. Like literally, it got to a point where every million that I got, it was just one clap between me and my manager because it was just like we're getting these millions so fast, we can't keep going out partying all the time because it's just happening too much. When I started to grow, I started to, getting more millions of followers. You start getting a lot of people like watching you and learning and doing all these beautiful things, like where you have to try and understand that if someone is going to get in the way, it's going to be a hater. All right. So I started to expand. So I was DJing in my room for the past year and a half, just DJing. And then I was like, I need to take it to the next level. So I decided to go to the water park that's here near the old Mactan Bridge. and I put my DJ decks in the middle of the wave pool there, and I recorded a mashup there. I recorded a mashup there, and I posted it, and it went supersonic. And then everyone was like, "KUYA MAGIK is a fake DJ. He's not a real DJ. He doesn't know how to DJ because there was no power in the mixer in his video. He's just twisting knobs." And I'm like, of course I'm not going to plug in my mixer in the middle of a freaking wave pool because I'm going to kill everybody that's in it and myself and destroy the equipment. So obviously, if you look at my previous content, it's all pre-recorded.
So what do you mean by you got canceled?
So, okay, so basically what happened was I got into the DJ community here as a fake DJ because they took the clip of me DJing in the swimming pool with no power.
Okay.
So there was lots of stories about me, like fake DJ, and then people were like,
but it wasn't like TikTok canceling you.
No, this is my followers, my fans.
Ah, okay.
So what actually happened was I nearly got cancelled, but what actually happened that day, I gained 3 million followers that day.
Okay.
Because I was talk of the town. People were like finding my other content.
Yeah, so that's really the thing, right? It doesn't matter if it's negative.
No such thing as bad press.
Or positive, right? I remember one of the political pundits was being bashed for referring to Mindanao as sub-Saharan Africa, and he mentioned that he got 20 million views because he got bad publicity. So there is no such thing as good or bad publicity on social media, right? As long as you get publicity. But isn't it that most of the time, if you get bad publicity, they don't like you, they don't follow you, they just view you, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's always going to be haters, Jiggy, no matter where you go in life.
Exactly, yeah.
And you just got to learn how to use them for your good, positive wellness.
Yeah, but what I mean is, what does it mean to you if people are hating on you? Why did it increase your likes by 3 million? Does that mean that if people are hating on you, they're also loving
awareness? I mean, because people are watching it because they're so my video got into the DJ community group, which has got hundreds of thousands of members, and people were like using my content. There was memes about me, like, you know, pushing the buttons and no music was happening. And like, you know, I got put in front of so many people that people actually went back and looked at all my other videos and was like, oh my gosh, this guy is really good actually. And, you know, like, of course he's not going to play, you know, so everybody took my side in it. So that's how I grew.
Or not everybody, but a lot of people took your side, right? And liked you and followed you and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter if you're getting bad publicity. As long as you're getting publicity, some of them may probably end up liking you, and some of them will continue on hating you because that's just the way of the world, right?
Yeah.
So they began to take TikTok seriously, right? So everybody now is on TikTok, right?
That's correct.
Everybody was on TikTok the year after the pandemic. You mentioned everybody started to go on TikTok. So what was that like when everybody was already on TikTok?
Well, when everybody was on TikTok, it was a lot harder for you to get noticed. I mean, like, even though you had millions of followers, lots of people would follow you, and then they would follow someone else, and then follow someone else, and then you just got pushed down the list. And I mean, I posted every single day for 3.5 years, but sometimes people will comment going, oh, KUYA MAGIK is back. It's like, I haven't been anywhere. It's just that the algorithm hasn't been showing you my content because since the time you followed me, you've also followed hundreds of other people. And there are many other people in my niche. So this is why it's so important on TikTok to continue to be relevant. If you want to be relevant or not. And like, you know, you can earn money on Meta, on Facebook. You can make like 1,000 peso a month, 2,000 peso a month, but just posting random content because Facebook is wanting people to move away from TikTok to go to their platform for where the money is better. And get this, TikTok doesn't pay their creators at all. In the UK, they have a creators program, so they pay you. So you can get that sort of content. You know, YouTube used to pay you good money, but they don't anymore. They pay you very small amounts. But Meta, you can make a fortune from just posting your everyday content on your personal profile. That's because they want to overtake the content creation. So that's what, you know, is slowly killing TikTok right now. That's why when TikTok got the ban, people were like, you know what? If it gets banned, so what? People have already had this case already, so they're prepared.
So these social media platforms, they're competing, right, for people's attentions, right? So they do adjust and remake and innovate on their algorithms, right?
Correct.
And their features too, right?
Yes,
So they're always looking at each other, right?
that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So they probably do this and follow this and like end this or whatever if
Yeah.
whatever's
I mean,
not
it was
working.
obvious what the algorithms were back then, but now they're so advanced, no one can replicate it anymore.
You say when you say algorithm, when you see it, is that easily replicable? Can you really like if you look at a web an app, for example, if you look at TikTok, you use it. Do you understand the algorithm right away? And can somebody just
No.
follow an algorithm?
No, I mean before, yes. Like in the early days, everybody all you need to do was like, comment, share, and subscribe, or copy link 100 times. And because the algorithm thinks copy link basically means that it's been shared 100 times, but it hasn't. You've just been copying the link. So the algorithm, was really easy to trick back then. But now it's like there is no real algorithm. It's about creating content consistently and interesting content. You have to use your brain. There is no proof, and people can give you videos. You can search, and people will say, we know the algorithm, follow our tips and tricks. But all you're doing is you're just going to create good content. That's all you have to do. If you have good content, or if you're doing what you're enjoying, the algorithm will just pick you. It doesn't matter, and keep you relevant until that point is passed. And then that's up to you to continue to be relevant. You can't keep doing the same thing every day. It just gets boring. So if you continue to evolve, your content will continue to evolve. The algorithm will continue to evolve until a point where it's like you've made it in life.
TikTok was banned in the United States for a few days, right? And you mentioned earlier during our conversations that it still continues to be banned now, although you can use it, but there are no new users. What does that mean to the rest of the world?
Well, the rest of the world, I think it's more of I'd like to say political, but I think it's more of power, like getting banned and moved and having all these threats. It's not because of the app's best interest. I think it's because, look, example, right? They wanted to ban TikTok because of the Chinese and all the spying and everything. And then Donald Trump said, if you vote for me, I'll bring it back. And then, he got 30% of the vote because people wanted to keep the app.
Yeah, but
so it's like,
what does that mean for us outside of the United States?
He feels like he's kept the app going and he's the savior of TikTok. And, of course, if the US does disappear, TikTok will still be here because it's not going to get banned in the Philippines, but the biggest investors come from TikTok in the US. So even me, I have an agency, a talent agency that I train live streamers. And a lot of my live streamers are foreign American Filipinos that are living in America or whatever. They can't access the app to support the, eventually it would crash and go and disappear. So it's like,
So would you say that the biggest market for TikTok is the United States?
In terms
of users?
In terms of users, yes. But in terms of who watches the videos and who creates the best content, it's the Philippines, by far. 90% of the trends, dance trends, the reason why TikTok is why it is now, and the reason why you have a 50% bigger playlist on your Spotify is because of TikTok and because of the Filipino people and how creative and how dancing they are and how creative they are.
One of the things that you mentioned before was that there was a time in TikTok when they started to have conflicts with the music labels and all of that stuff, and you can't use this and all of that stuff. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What happened to that moment? When was this? When did it start? I remember you couldn't use Taylor Swift's music, and every time you used the Taylor Swift music in your past posts, it would get muted and all of that stuff. So tell me about that. What happened to that?
Well, I'm signed to Universal Records, so obviously, I have very good connections with the people inside Universal, and I kind of knew about this scenario before it was going to happen, and I knew that it was going to be short-lived and long-lived, whatever. But basically, to cut a long story short, Universal and Spotify. So Spotify, TikTok pays Spotify something like $42 billion a year to use music to their artists. And then they pay Universal something like $12 billion. So Universal said, how come others are getting more money from TikTok and Universal are the ones who own the artists. So there was just a playground fight, Jiggy. It was a playground fight between two girls on the playground just fighting, pulling each other's hair about like, they said, all right, Universal said, we're just going to move away. We're going to move away. We're going to take away 50,000 artists from TikTok. And then TikTok turned around and said, you know what? We're going to ban 100 million of your artists. And then Universal said, all right, so you're going to take 100 million of our artists. We're just going to come off that totally. You know, like that was how the argument evolved. So Universal said we're going to remove 50,000 artists. And then TikTok came along and said, no, we're going to take away 100,000. And then Universal said, no, we'll take away 200,000 then. And then TikTok just said, get off our app. So these two people, like two girls in the playground just arguing.
So where are they now in that story?
So now they've won the case. So
who won? TikTok?
Universal.
Okay.
So Universal won the Universal. I mean, Taylor Swift had enough money anyway. You know, she just left the label after when this fight happened. Taylor Swift left Universal and just came back independently. So that's why her music was back on the app first.
Okay.
She got the money. She didn't care.
Okay.
She left. She was like, I want my music on the app. I love TikTok. So she left the label to come back. So obviously, because they left Taylor Swift, they lost Taylor Swift, and they lost a lot of other artists because they want to be independent and they want to have their own money. A lot of the artists found their own way back to the app, and then eventually TikTok and Universal kind of made like amends with each other, and then they slowly started to release the music back, and now it is to where it is now. So yeah, I mean, how much of that I can't really go into detail on because like information that I got told is like confidential, but like, you know, in terms of like TikTok and Universal fighting, that's what caused the issue. That's why all your music got muted. Millions and millions of videos just got muted. And it was for 3 months, and then they came back.
So music is an integral part of TikTok content creation, right? I mean, in the beginning, it was really about dancing and all of that stuff. You can't dance without any music, right?
That's correct.
So is TikTok still that app that it started 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, that it's about music and dancing?
It is still about music and dancing, but I think now the algorithm has so changed. For me, because I was an OG, and now I feel like we've pushed away, so I have a different opinion on it. That's why I am focusing on training people that are in the now. That's why I've kind of stepped away from TikTok. That's why I don't post as much anymore or put any of my time into TikTok, because TikTok stopped appreciating what I did. And also obviously because I was mashing up music that was copyrighted and whatnot, so obviously there were some of the legal things there. I do have a plan to come back, but like for me, I've been busy with doing all the other stuff, getting my studio up and running, getting TMC up and running, and also the arcade. So like for me, it's like I had my time. Yeah, they could have looked after us better, but at the same time, I think if they did look after us better, Jiggy, I don't think everyone would have the attention they have now. I think you have to kind of move away. Like I had my time to shine. I got something from it. I learned something from it, and now I think it's time for others to take over that spot. I mean, I could change my content. I could become relevant again, but I don't feel like I need to, because I feel like my time is now to help others.
You know, that relevant word, quote unquote relevant, sounds very general, sounds very nebulous, sounds like you really can't bottle it. What do you mean when you say relevant, and how does one become relevant?
Well, relevancy is kind of a drug, you know, like it's an addiction that you need to be popular, you need to be relevant.
Yeah, but how do you do that? How do you become relevant?
Well, you have to you will have to kind of find something that you see every day, take it on and change it to your own. So for example, like now there's this Poppy Playtime game that's came out, and everyone is talking about Poppy Playtime, for example. So if I wanted to stay relevant, I would make a remix related to Poppy Playtime. You know,
isn't that fairly easy?
It is easy to do,
yeah, I mean,
but
the way you're describing it sounds like it's very easy. You just see whatever.
Yeah, because
see what everybody's doing and just do it yourself. And do it differently.
It's easy because there will always be dancing, and there will always be a space for a DJ to make music, because there are millions of people that want to dance to TikTok. So it's easy for me to stay relevant. But for other people, it's harder because they have different niches. Like, one person might just be a stand-up comedian about carrots. Like, well, carrots get boring. What's he gonna do?
So why doesn't the comedian, do a joke about the thing that's trending?
Yeah,
for example, right?
Yeah, well, that's what you have to do.
Okay.
You have to kind of stay relevant in that kind of thing, and you have to be willing to make a change. And sometimes people will just be like, he's trying too much. He's trying too hard to stay relevant.
So it doesn't look natural.
Doesn't look natural.
Yeah,
because people are desperate.
Yeah, because you mentioned earlier that as long as you
like Bella Porch right now, she's on the hot air because people are saying that she's desperate to stay relevant.
Yeah, because you mentioned earlier that you need to sincerely want to do the thing that you're doing on TikTok. Right? The content that you're doing has to be something that's from the heart. If you don't mean it, if you don't like it, they can see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have to stay relevant. I don't need to stay relevant. I feel like I need to be relevant because I have something to give.
Mm-hmm.
And like, for example, like there was one song I always used to mash up. It was called Pony. And they were always like, Tama na, KUYA Magic, Tama na. Stop remixing this song. Stop remixing this song. Tama na, Tama na. And I'm like, all right, I stop. And then I make another song with the same mashup. I would grow 50,000 followers. The only videos that were going viral were the ones they were telling me not to do. So it was like, that's how you have to really play it now. Okay,
we have 5 minutes to go before 3, so I'm going to wrap this up because I know you have a meeting. Are those people waiting for you?
I have no idea.
They're with guns and masks and
they are. They look extremely dangerous. Armed and dangerous.
So relevancy. That is quite an interesting word, and sometimes you can come off as trying too hard, right?
That's correct.
Because for example, if the trend is, let's just say, for example, basketball, and you don't play basketball, and you can pretend to know how to play basketball, so it becomes like kind of trying too hard, right? And the audience does not like that when you're trying too hard. How about for effort? Don't they reward you for effort?
Yeah, they do, but I think now it's got to a point where there's nothing you can do. Like, TikTok will never pay you for anything. It was like, if you want, TikTok was there just to kind of grow, get noticed. I'm thankful for TikTok because I got aware. I got made aware. I thought something I was just doing stupidly and managed to land me a contract with Universal that changed my life. But now I look back at it and think, I can't do that forever, and this is what you have to do. But if there is something you want to do out there, you do it. You'll achieve it. Guaranteed.
You have a TikTok studio, right?
Yes.
And you're training people to
be me now.
To be the next KUYA Magic, right? Tell us about that.
Well, it's not so much to be the next KUYA Magic. It's more of the fact that, so how Magic Studios was born was the fact that I used to do live streaming, and I couldn't go the extra mile because I couldn't speak the language, and it was difficult for me. I really wanted to speak the language, and I'm still learning, and I will eventually speak fluently, and I am doing my best to learn. But the reason why I couldn't excel to where I wanted to get was because of the language barrier. So that's when I started to train someone to do what I could do that could speak the language, and it worked. And then TikTok saw it and said, well, if you can do this to one person, can you do it to more? And I said, sure. So I started doing it for more, and then that's when they gave me the opportunity for an agency where I can now train people who doesn't have any experience, no talent, no whatever. You don't have to have talent. If you can sing, you can sing. Great. If you can program, you can program. If you can produce, you can produce. If you don't do anything at all, don't matter. We can help you. And I would find a way for you to earn extra income on TikTok Live.
This whole TikTok studio of yours, is there a similar concept? Is there like a Instagram studio? Is there like a Facebook studio out there?
No, not really, because I mean, like, Instagram doesn't have a platform where you can go live and you receive gifts. You can go live, but you can't get paid for it. They can't tip you. It's like a tip. YouTube, yeah, you can. Twitch, you can, yeah, but TikTok has a higher payout. So if you go live,
how about Facebook?
Facebook, they have stars now, so you can get stars. But again,
so
it's harder to earn.
Is there like a Facebook studio out there?
I believe they haven't started the agency yet. I think they're going to start. I think Facebook will start an agency very soon. But for us, we are heavily TikTok agent. We're a TikTok agency, so we're basically, and it's much better on TikTok.
So the business model of TikTok is really the gifts, right?
The gifts, yeah.
Unlike Facebook that rewards those that just make random content.
That's correct.
And whatnot, right? TikTok is really for those that do shows, to do live.
So anything.
What do you call that again? The thing that you do.
Battles,
right?
Yeah.
Or whatever that they do live, right? That's when they
make two people battling it out, and whoever gets the most gifts win. Yeah. And that's it.
Or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of content that TikTok is known for,
Mhm.
right? And you make your money from the gifts.
That's correct.
Tell us about the profitability of these social media platforms. Who is the most profitable? Not in terms of the company, but in terms of the content creators. Who gives out the most money?
Which platform?
Yeah, which platform?
Facebook.
Okay.
Facebook for content creation. I've known some friends to make $4,000 or $5,000 by just posting, random stuff around the house
Okay.
on Facebook. That won't last for long. That's just an initial jump until TikTok's decided what they're doing. The moment TikTok has been eliminated, that will go from Facebook. Facebook will just become a generic platform again. Or if TikTok gets saved, the money will increase more. So Facebook is definitely the platform to be on if you're just trying to make a quick buck. But if you're wanting to, like, we just recruited Justine into the agency, like, as well, because Justine she likes to talk. But some of our streamers, they can earn 50 to 60 to 70,000. One of my streamers is earning 70,000 a day, just from sitting there and just talking and being engaging. Giving someone who in the world can't talk to someone in real life. So they hide behind a screen and they have a lot of money, and they like to give it to people that really kind of like do something in their life. That's why doing TikTok and doing I really want to do a show on TikTok live and show people how it's changed people's lives, because some of my streamers that I have, they were living in the province, like, living without electric or water, and now they have their own house and car and iPhones, and then like they really changed their lives because they're doing the thing they enjoy. And that's
Okay.
it.
Oops. What happened to that, man? It went TikTok.
I went mad.
Before I let you go, KUYA Magic, what is your message to those who want to get into TikTok, who want to get into social media, not just for kicks, not just for fun, but to actually make a living off of it? What is your message to them? Because a lot of people who are already making a living out of being on TikTok. What is your message to them? Go ahead. Talk to them, KUYA Magic. Go ahead, man.
So if you're a TikToker, or if you have a content, or if you're a singer or a dancer or anyone, message Magic Studios. Magic Studios is there for you. We're here to help you grow. We're here to help you as a content creator, and here to help you earn. So, like, you can check us out, Magic with a K. Magic Studios on Facebook. Give us a message. Our lovely staff will be there to help you. And we train. We do training, free training every week.
Is there like a basic requirement? Is there like a basic age and all
Nope.
of that stuff?
Anyone and everyone.
Okay.
Obviously you got to be over the age of 18, obviously,
Okay.
because that's the age that you have to be. But yeah, free training, everything. We don't take any commissions.
Okay.
It's all free, and we train twice a week, and we do it for free. So yeah, come and join us.
Wow.
And change your lives. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Our first ever guest for the Pilosopo podcast. It's KUYA Magic, TikTok sensation KUYA Magic, and you got to check out his Magic Studios and be a part of TikTok. Okay, thank you, KUYA Magic. Thank you so much, guys,
Thanks, guys,
for watching the Pilosopo podcast. I'm your host. My name is Jiggy Juice. I'll catch you in the next Pilosopo podcast. Thank you, guys.